Distinguished guests, I have great pleasure in welcoming you all to the 33rd Annual Conference on U.S.-Turkish Relations. Seeing so many of American friends here, including John Faraci, a very old friend from Istanbul, by the way, almost all of them familiar faces, is proof positive how crucially Turkish-American relations are regarded in this town. And I'm sure the fact that so many of us have traveled a long distance, nearly 12 hours, for me a couple of days ago, serves to remind our American colleagues of our dedication to this noble cause. Before I begin my remarks, I want to pay my respects to the miners killed in the Soma accident, Soma disaster. We are still mourning their loss as we take comfort in their great solidarity of our American friends who have shared our grief over this dark and difficult time. Ladies and gentlemen, the annual conference has always been a highlight on my calendar, but this one will be somewhat bittersweet. I'll be stepping down from my position as the chairman of TAIK, the Turkish-American Business Council in Istanbul, at the end of my current term in fall. The past 6 years have been challenging, exciting, and inspiring. Apart from our joint annual conferences here in Washington, along with ATC, we organized 4 investment conferences in New York with great success and 2 very successful exhibitions, one in New York and then one in Washington, and hosted dignitaries and in association with some of the most prestigious consultancy firms conducted studies to improve business relations between Turkey and the United States. The findings of our reports are today widely circulated, and many of our recommendations have been accepted by both governments. In short, my friends on the TAIK board and I have been active in our efforts to protect and build on the bond between our two countries. The past 6 years have seen many ups as well as downs, but as TAIK we've been very careful not to deny ourselves from long-term opportunities because of short-term crisis. And I'm very sorry to say that as we assemble today, at a time when the relations between our countries are at a particularly low point compared to the past 10 years. Coming together over crisis has always been a hallmark of the relationship between the United States and Turkey. Further, it was under the Obama administration that continued high-level government contacts created a constructive atmosphere with a special emphasis on building bilateral commercial relations. So it's an especially troubling sign of degraded trust that we seem to have left behind those days of a model partnership. I cannot emphasize enough how grave a situation this is, and I'm sure most of you will agree. The mutual strategic interest and decades of military cooperation are simply too important for either government to put at risk. And as business leaders of both countries, it is imperative that we work towards fixing the cracks with energy. Improved economic relations would only serve to cure the current cold spell between Turkey and the United States. We must elevate our commercial and economic relations to a strategic level. We must always remember that business is a great healer. The ties among our businesses and our citizens have never been more vibrant indeed. Our bilateral trade is nearly $20 billion, triple that of just a decade ago. But we must do much more to create the conditions for prosperity and good jobs in both countries. This will in turn have the effect of bolstering state-to-state relations between Turkey and the US. There are currently 2 high-level committees dedicated to rejuvenating the economic relations between our countries. They are both very important to us. I'm reminded of a quote from Winston Churchill, who said, "However beautiful the strategy, you should occasionally look at the results." When it comes to fostering business between our 2 great countries, I believe tangible results can only come from radical and creative thinking. And there is a clear objective that we can all support. The friendship and cooperation that exist between our 2 countries not only serve bilateral interest, but also constitute an essential element of the broader partnership between the United States and the European Union as a whole, I mean the Atlantic Alliance. This is of particular importance considering the upcoming talks between the United States and the European Union on a transatlantic trade and investment partnership. Referred to in some circles as an economic NATO, a fully operational free trade agreement between the US and the EU has the potential not just to tip but completely reset the global economic scales. Under current outlines, TTIP would account for 54% of global production and nearly 1/3 of all global trade, proving it to be the most significant international trade agreement since the World Trade Organization. A free trade agreement between the US and the EU would have a monumental effect on Turkey. The customs union between Turkey and the EU stipulates that Turkey apply the same tariffs as the EU to industrial products imported from third countries. The problem arises when the EU signs free trade agreements with other countries, with third parties, that in turn are not legally required to extend the same treatment to Turkey. Therefore, Turkey can often be faced with export tariffs from these third-party countries while keeping its import tariffs aligned with the EU, in line with the EU. Finding a place for Turkey in TTIP is a crucial step in the short term and would have the added benefit of attracting a greater amount of mutual investment in the long run. Even though there remain a number of political and economic roadblocks for a possible FTA between Turkey and the United States, they could all be overcome through negotiations. It will be primarily Turkey's responsibility to clearly communicate to all parties involved why it is absolutely essential for Turkey to have a free trade agreement with the US. However, both Washington and Ankara must also work together in pushing their European allies to realize how important a development this is. Ladies and gentlemen, before ending my remarks, I would like to extend my gratitude to the committee chairs, to our board members, to our hardworking staff, both at ATC and TAIK, for all the work they have done in facilitating this conference, and to our members for their friendship, and to all our sponsors for their generous financial support. Thank you all very much.